I see these spaces being underutilized, and I'm just like, yo, like, I want to obviously bring foot traffic to the shop, but also, born and raised here, and I'm seeing, like, I mean, where we're at in Embarcadero Plaza, people don't even know this is like skating, like, gold right here.
That was Vandor Hill, owner and creator of Whack Donuts. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco, a podcast about artists, activists, and small businesses that make this city so special. In this bonus episode, we catch up with friend of the show, Vandor, to chat all things Whack Donuts at 1 year. Come down to the plaza outside Embarcadero 4 this Saturday at 1 p.m. for a breakdancing battle jam event. Hey, it's free. Here's Vandor.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Well, Okay, I had this thing with friends. I feel like we do this every January where it's like, if I haven't seen you and it's like January, I don't know, 12th, it's like, do we say Happy New Year? How long do you say? And we've been going back and forth. Some people are just like, no, just fucking stop. And I'm like, well, yeah, but if we haven't seen each other, for me now, looking back on Monday, I'm like, after Monday, there's no Happy New Year.
Yeah.
That's my reality.
No, I hear you.
Yeah. There's moments of happiness and moments of joy. I mean, I'm standing in front of a case of fucking donuts.
Welcome.
Thank you. I think you're the human who made these things, right?
I am. My name is Vandor Hill, also known as the last black man in SF, and I'm the owner, baker, content creator, everything man at Whack Donuts.
And do you know how many times this makes that you've been on this podcast?
I think we're in number 3.
This is 3. I think that makes you the most. I've had a couple people back on. I think that this today makes you the most.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I made donuts, I'd be like, "Here's your donut."
Yeah.
Congratulations.
You're getting a donut after this too, so don't worry.
So I'll give it back and be like,
yeah. But we're actually a day off from my 1-year anniversary that I signed my lease last year. Oh wow.
23rd or 25th?
25th. I officially signed my lease. So at the end of 2023, that's when the Vacant Survivor program was officially over. And that's when BXP, a.k.a. the Embarcadero, offered me a lease. And so I basically got floated another month. And then, they're like 2-year lease. And I was like, okay.
All right. And so we're halfway through that.
Yeah. So I'm here till at least the end of 2026.
Okay. Oh, the end. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how's it going? What's going on in your world?
Now that I'm an actual tenant, things are a little different compared to when I was in the Vacant Survivor program. It was the smoothest transition. I was pretty much in limbo when all that was going down. I mean, I'll touch on that later, but as an actual tenant now here at the Embarcadero, there's more responsibilities. It's like, okay, so you're officially taking over this space. You have to do the upkeep. You have, I got HVAC. That's a new thing I'm dealing with.
Oh shit. Okay.
My fire extinguisher. So essentially it's like, dealing with a landlord, so I'm just inheriting all these things. There's, the water heater crapped out on me officially, and when I was, told them that, they're like, okay, so you gotta get a new water heater, and I was like, wait, I was like, wait, I have to get a new water heater? Like, wait, and they're like, yeah.
You just said the word landlord. It's like when there's a landlord situation, don't they?
So from what I'm learning, the back and forth was really, now it's about business. And that's the vibe I've gotten. I get it. I'm in a space now, and it's kind of like, okay, go. It's all you. So it definitely feels different from when I was like in the Vacant Survivor program. It was kind of like warm and nurturing. And now it's like, okay, you're with us now. So
training wheels off.
Yeah, let's go. And I was like, oh, wow. So they're like, yeah, technically, once you got into the space, you were actually supposed to bring in your own water heater. But because of how I got into the space through the Vacant Survivor program, there was a lot of non-due diligence, regarding plumbing, just a bunch of things. So that water heater, we lost hot water at least 4 times in that first, 3-4 months we were in here. And even like post, going into 2024, and then finally just, they would send engineers, they would fix it, cool. And then one day, like, I had no hot water. And so I was literally taking my dishes to my commissary kitchen or the kitchens here that would let me use stuff to wash my dishes.
Well, just to remind people, I mean, this is a food production. It's right, like hot water is
and
basic.
And I can't bake on site, so I'm mainly like in prepping here.
You're handling.
So I'm literally
yeah.
So I'll start now. Another difference is, my prep time is way different. So now at my commissary kitchen, I'm starting at 8 at night, and I just produce through the morning. So I now make several trips dropping off to the shop. And then on my last trip, I pretty much just like power nap here in the shop and just get ready to open. Or if I'm really good, I've prepped ahead and I could just wake up, come to the shop and open doors, which is rare. Mm-hmm. Most of the time it's me like just, like again, cat napping in my storage closet that people think is my bathroom. It's not. And I just go. So, figuring out, I've asked them, like, hey, what's the rent? Because basically after my 2-year lease, they would lock me into like, like a rent per month.
A month to month, or
it'd be month to month.
Okay.
So still, it was like pulling teeth. They're like, yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there. So that's why I'm saying it's very different. Like, Vacant to Vibrant was kind of handling that, but not really when I was in the program. So I'm seeing the difference, and even talking to some of the like vets here that have been, in the Embarcadero Center, just out of respect, I don't want to put them on blast, but they've kind of given me like information, like, hey man, just ask questions, just be mindful of this and that, even how, they're doing new portals now, like with how we pay our rent. And, there's things like I didn't know I was responsible for that fire extinguisher being recharged. I have pest control that I have to like add in as an expense now. So I have, so there's all these things that level up and now it's like I really have to be mindful. Sometimes they'll invoice me right when I'm getting ready to pay my rent at my kitchen, or I'm paying off, and then, city taxes, like I got to get ready to do my taxes for 2024, and like I kind of like F those up, so I'm learning, like I'm like finally getting ready to meet with a CPA to help me with all that, but there's a lot, man, that I'm learning painfully, but it's still a journey. So I was able to thankfully talk them down and meeting me halfway, and was like, look, how I got into here wasn't like the usual way. I got in through a program. The program, that first iteration wasn't perfect, wasn't expecting it to be, but things definitely did fall through the cracks. And I expressed like, hey, my plumbing was shot, so there's things that, we're both kind of like got to own. And so they were like, okay, so I had to pay at least half. So they met me halfway.
That's because I always think, because I'm not a business person, it's like if we could introduce a little bit of humanity into these negotiations and things that we do, it would change things. I know they have their program, which is the bottom line or whatever, all that stuff. But it sounds like in this case, you asked and it worked.
Yeah, I mean,
be cool.
I'm huge on transparency, and like I said, as soon as I submitted that lease, it just kind of felt like it was like dealing with different people now. It's like, okay, it's just stone cold. It's like, okay, pay us this day, make sure you're open this many days a week, this many hours. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is way different. Like I said, like that Vacant to Vibrant was kind of like a hat or a cover that kind of streamlined things. But even then, there was things that fell through the cracks. It was like at the end of that program, Like a lot of us were questioning, like, okay, well, how do we get our grant amount? Because the cap when I started was $8K, so you get an $8K grant, and then getting like another $1,000 for tenant improvements, which wasn't a lot because just where you're standing now, where the display is at, we had to demo that, and that was at least $2K. You know, so they sent us the rubric at the end of the program, which still didn't make no sense because prior, in the beginning when we found out we were in the program, it was like, oh, so how do we know? It's just, you just submit, well, I want to be open this many days. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm vocal compared to the other cats in my first cohort because I just want to know, like, wait, why is this, and this, that? And it was very, like, vague, not a lot of, like, you know, clear cut, you know, this is why you're getting this, or like I had to share my space with a coffee person,
right?
You know, who's cool, you know, like he was a homie I popped up with during the pandemic, but he was left out of a lot of meetings. I had to relay information to him, keep him in the loop. You know, some of us had other issues, like one person, like their walk-in refrigerator didn't work.
Jeez.
And, you know, who's going to cover that cost? Is it going to be the building? Is that SF New Deal? So there's a lot of, like, weird things. So
are you seeing foot traffic increase from where we were last year, let's just say?
You know, it fluctuates a lot.
Yeah. Maybe depending on weather, season,
all that. I'd
conventions.
Say up until November, like just before Thanksgiving, that's when things really started slowing down. So we noticed, like, even that first year when we did the program, we were October to December.
Okay.
We were supposed to be starting September, but it was a late start. But we didn't officially start till October. And that was kind of a gauge because I know a lot of folks, like the coffee guy that was with me, he didn't even like stick around for like the last 2 weeks of December because it was kind of like, it was dead.
Why?
So,
yeah, right. Why bother?
And then, you know, you still had the whole like working from home, like remote, especially on Fridays. So yeah, it's been tricky. That's why I've been not solely reliant on foot traffic because, you know, the Embarcadero is weird. Like a Tuesday can be like my Monday. And Monday's here dead.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, I was at the farmer's market Saturday, and I noticed this is probably not news to anyone except for me because I'm never down here, but like, don't they do farmer's markets on like Tuesday and Thursday or something like that?
So the farmer's market is supposed to be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Right. Do you get any...
Spillover is weird in this neighborhood. So
well, they're out there getting kale. They probably don't want donuts.
Well,
but you're like, but they're vegan.
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah, I know, right?
And you're local.
Come on, man. Yeah. No, it's weird. Like it's a small bump in foot traffic on those days.
Because you're not out here on the weekends, are you?
I'm only here on Saturdays.
You are here on Saturday.
And
okay.
I've had to kind of like play with those hours because you know, Saturday is the weird day where everyone wakes up late.
Yeah.
So even if I'm here like 8, 9, no one's coming in for at least like 2.5 hours. And then it's like this weird rush that happens. And it's just kind of like, okay, you know, I'm here for like, you know, I got to be here at least 5 hours, part of the lease, you know. But it's very hard on Saturdays because people kind of come in and out. Right. Again, when I did my event, I did a 2v2 breaking event back in August.
I was going to ask about that. So that was August, okay.
So that was August.
I caught the tail end of it. I'm going to be here for the whole thing that
Appreciate
day, 'cause
you.
that was the tail end of that event was...
Well, the idea, too, was, you know, the Olympics had breaking debut.
Yep.
And
one and done.
Yeah. Well, and there was a lot of education that was...
Sure.
available that day because a lot of people, some people that was their first time seeing it. Some people were like, "Oh, this is way different than what I saw in the Olympics," and we were like, "Yeah, that's an even deeper story," you know, because it was coming off the heels of the whole Ray Gun debacle, and thankfully, my friends, you know, in the dance scene, we just kind of came together and we're just like, "Hey, this is a real breaking event. This happens like all over. You should check out and like support your local scene." I wanted to marry the two things that I love in my life, and that's, you know, my donuts and dance. And I as soon as I got into the space, I noticed like no one was using the plaza. Yeah, they built some weird things here. I'm not gonna lie, it might sound like a hater, but I don't care. But like, yeah, we got the Park Padel, which is like the Brazilian pickleball.
Yep.
And they had their court, and then they recently, actually last year, they built an additional 2 courts. So, which is kind of funny. But yeah, like we managed to get some type of help from the city. Well, the city initially was supposed to cover the event, but they just ended up just giving us a little bit of like money to kind of like cover some expenses. But I did that event, and usually people are gone by like 2, but we had maintained like a crowd for like from 1 to like almost 3.
Yeah.
And you had people stopping. They're like, "Oh, is this going to happen again?" We were like, "Yeah, we're trying to make this a recurring thing." So
we'll get to that in a moment. Did the line dancing that day go on? Did something happen after the? Or that's kind of how it wrapped up?
That's how I know my event. So most people that have attended my events in the past, I always want to make it where everyone's involved, because you're watching these phenomenal dancers get down, and you feel a little intimidated. And I'm like, okay, we're going to put on some music, and we're just going to get everyone up and moving.
Interactive, right? That's the buzzy part of that. But
Exactly.
It's also just fucking fun.
Yeah.
The doctor says, if you can do it. Get off your butt.
Yeah.
Move. So yeah. Good segue to a couple days from now. What's happening?
So I've been working tirelessly outside of when I'm not making donuts, working with the city now, getting ready to do my 1-year anniversary jam. So I wanted to commemorate my 1 year being here at the Embarcadero by hosting another event, another dance battle. This time it's going to be a crew battle, 5-on-5.
Yeah.
So more people, more dancers, and this time it's mostly a crowd-funded event. So it's a combination of me matching whatever leftover funds that are needed to just kind of cover everything. But again, my friend Sergio, who's the main guy behind his nonprofit All the Way Live, he actually has a thing that he hosts. He has free breaking classes, and he's done a couple competitions himself here in the city over at near City Hall. So he's super integral. He's been helping me with like the permitting and just being that liaison with the city and just kind of getting things going, because it's different now. So like from the last event, we had support. Now it's like, I always tell people, it's like when you go to the club and the guy at the door, it's like, oh yeah, go on in. And now it's like back of the line. So I'm really, like I said, I'm literally learning what it's like to work with the city.
It's a heavier lift.
It is. And it's unfortunate because, there are programs. I feel like there's programs here in the city that are still missing the pulse, because they were doing like these free events from like October to August last year. But it was like nobody either knew about it or the turnout was really low. I mean, this neighborhood, it's like people are done by like 3-4. They just want to go home.
Right.
So it's kind of a hard push when you're not really paying attention. So there's things that are happening here, like they did the SF Glow, but that was at night, and they were projecting stuff. So I'm kind of on that. Well, we know there's a need and want for like more free events.
There's a hunger. I'll call it a hunger. Yeah.
I'm just pulling from my time from when I was a teacher. I worked after school. I was in the nonprofit sector for over 10 years. I organized events here in the Bay for a while, and I think I have 5 events under my belt now, including the one I did last August. And it's free. So I see these spaces being underutilized, and I'm just like, I want to obviously bring foot traffic to the shop, but also, born and raised here, and I'm seeing where we're at in Embarcadero Plaza, people don't even know this is like skating like gold right here. There's a history here, and unfortunately, they're going to be doing some type of big restructuring of the plaza. So that's a big project.
Getting rid of the fountain?
That's the word around the campfire.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
okay,
so,
that's significant.
So if you notice, like they completely drained it, but it's cool because I'm seeing more skaters kind of pop up, and
Isn't that what happens when things get drained?
Yeah,
the skaters just come out of the woodwork.
Come out of the woodwork.
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, if I was mayor, I would embrace a lot of these old things that just made San Francisco great, because we're still recovering from the pandemic. So back to your point about what my foot traffic like is like here. It ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
You know, so there's hard days where it's like it's a slow burn, like selling out, or you know, I'm like, okay, I got a little bit left over. Okay, I'll figure out something. You know, so it's like a Meals on Wheels, or I'm donating, but we're not quite there yet. And I feel like that's the drop off with some of these programs, where on paper it's like, you know, you get these newsletters like, hey, we help support it, like 30 businesses here in the city. Great, but I'm in contact with a lot of these businesses, and we have the same kind of like, you know, frustrations. It's like, you know, we're barely getting by. You know, there's more and more stuff is closing in the city. I mean, you know, the mall is practically gone. You know, they keep closing down like more Walgreens around the city, you know, which I really don't really care about. I mean, the Safeway in Western Addition is about to close next month.
No, it actually closed.
Oh, it's actually,
They pulled the plug.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah,
so
no,
there
I
you
was
go.
like February, and then they just like stopped ordering stuff.
Wow.
That's another story.
So that's another story. But yeah, so it's
It's a story, but it's connected to the
But it's-
bigger
but
whole of like,
yeah,
there's a lot of
that's-
struggle and
there's struggle.
just getting by.
Alpastor Poppy, aka Mr. E, you know, famous, you know, for his like Alpastor burrito tacos. Like he just kind of closed shop. He's like, hey man, you know, he has, you know, his family, you know, there's his health, both his mental and physical health. But that made me kind of cry, because he was one of the first guys that I gave my donuts to that was an established dude, where I went to SF Park Social, and he was like, dude, keep running with this. And we did at least 3 collaborations in that time. But when he was just like, yeah, man, it's hard out here for small business. And I'm like, him of all people?
Right.
You know, so it's...
Well, I'll editorialize real fast and just say, you know, one of the 3 main pillars that Storied SF is about is small business. And it's like, we all collectively are going through seeing some of our favorite businesses fold or struggle or go to crowdfunding. Another thing you can do is go out
Exactly.
and support, buy donuts, come to breakdancing events in the plaza. Those are different because those are free, but I'm like, contribute. If you have something to give, also just your presence, just showing up. The time for complaining is over. It's time to do stuff.
But the cool thing too is, I recently, like, you know, I have my, like, you know, my life stuff happening, and then also have my small business life stuff happening. And it's like, to separate the two, sometimes it spills over. And, you know, I've had people come in here and they're just like, hey man, you okay? You good? And they're like, you know, this older lady last week, she didn't even buy donuts. She just like tipped me like,
nice.
Like a huge thing, because she saw my sign. She's like, oh, are you doing an event? And she was like, I saw you on TV. And I was like, oh wow, like I'm on TV. But she was like, yeah, we need more, like, you know, places like you.
Better angels.
And I was just like,
They're
you
out
know,
there.
got a little like misty eyed, and she was like,
Yeah.
you have a good day, sweetie. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, she called me sweetie, and made me think about my grandma, you know.
I guess my point is we just need to try to find it within ourselves to be those better angels. And,
Exactly.
And let's support all of us.
Oh no, like
let's do it.
Any of my homies that I have on the Whack Donuts IG, you know, I repost their stuff, you know, and they do the same with me. So I've been definitely feeling the love. It's, you know, raising these funds to get the event covered. You know, it's been slow, but now it's kind of starting to pick up traffic. And so
Nice.
I tell people the event's still happening. It's just, again, you guys are just helping me cover, like, again, the city permits are not cheap. Production for my DJs, my judges, my volunteers. It's like, again, I'm learning all these like things, like I have to be responsible for garbage. And now it's a little different, because compared to the last event, it wasn't really that. So, yeah.
All right, man. Well, anything else you want to add while we're here before we wrap?
You know, like I said, a lot of people said, you know, hey man, you made it to your first year, which is like a feat in itself. So pat yourself on the back for that. You know,
You went from 0 to 1.
Yeah, you know, coming from my apartment to popping up to getting in, like, you know, these programs, and I don't want folks to get it twisted. Like, I am appreciative of these programs. However, again, these programs have to be careful in like overselling and under-delivering is where I'm coming from. Because a lot of us are first-time business, owners trying to, figure these things out. And there's a little bit of, delusions of grandeur sometimes in these rollouts. So I would just push that, the city really get behind small businesses and support folks, especially first-timers. But just in general, the city just really needs to get behind small business because we're not out of the woods yet.
No.
It's like 2025, the pandemic was only a few years ago, and the city is still recovering. So get out there and support small business. It should be a no-brainer,
Yeah.
If you can go to big corporate, go to a mom and pop, because it's not easy what we do.
Yeah.
But,
as easy as they make it, there's more small businesses, y'all.
Yes, but we are still the GoFundMe for to help with the event is up on the Whack Donuts Instagram. It's links is in the bio. Anything helps. Again, this is just covering now that we're a regular person trying to do something, an event in the city is not cheap. So we look for any help. But if you happen to be around February 1st, come on out. The event is from 1 to 5. You'll see the battles. Should start at 1. And we're going to be line dancing. There might be a donut eating contest. We're still figuring that out now because health department's involved. So other than that, I am... I'm still hopeful. There's a lot I want to do between now. This is not my last year. Like I said, I'm here till 2026, and I'm definitely trying to do some things to get the shop more foot traffic and provide more events here in the space.
That was Whack Donuts' Vandor Hill. Next week on the show, meet Barbara Grata, winemaker and owner of Grata Wines in the Bayview. Episode 7 drops next Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Our contributing producer is Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 7th season, we have more than 220 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If possible, please, please, please rate and review the show. I want to know what you think. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at storiedsf, and reach out to us there or email us at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Be extra careful crossing the street, and keep being wacky, creative, and kind out there. See you next time on Storied San Francisco. We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcast.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.